Now, one of the things that I think we'll greatly enjoy in particular about you is that we're always learning. And actually, your fellow professionals, including myself, who've been around this game for a long time, you say and do things that I haven't heard before, and then you go and look into it and learn more. And every day's a learning day for us with you, Bryson. And you really are moving the needle in that regard.
I'm trying to learn every single day as well. I mean, there's not one day that I'm not thinking with Dana about like what ground reaction forces, how I can feel like I'm more consistent, less deviation, controlling club path, face angle, all that sort of stuff more consistently. How do I make it easier to hit the golf ball so I can just get up there, have a number, swing it, and have it go right down the middle of the fairway? That's my goal. I know I make things complicated, but I literally try to just make it as simple as possible at the end of the day. But it has to start complex at some point.
Well, Dana, that's what's really quite interesting here as well, because Bryson's talking about the first part. Some people who may be a little bit newer to the sport might think you've lost me. You've lost me. But the end result is so that you can just free it up and send it.
Yeah. Right.
Let's have a little look, because Sportsbox AI is something you guys use together in particular to help you with your game. We've actually got something that we can bring you here. Dana, I'm going to get your take on this as the coach as well. How do you use this technology?
Well, as you can see, we have 3 numbers that we pulled up. We're simplifying the whole system for Bryson so he can do the same thing every time. So right here, we're looking at his rotation, going into his backswing.
Chest turn, right?
Yep, his chest turn.
Send it back for you. Stop it. Club parallel to the ground if I can.
Yes, that'd be perfect. Keep going. Right there. So you can also see his pelvis sway. And for, I think, people at home, you have to have a little bit of sway in your golf swing.
And minus is going
to the right.
To the right. Yeah. For right-handed golfers, going back to your right foot.
So he's going to push away from there.
So I go away, but then quite quickly, I'm already doing what?
Recentering.
Recentering. So I went from 0.9 already back to 0.5, which is very minimal, but you can already start to see that there's a shift more towards the left-hand side. So what it really feels like is it's like this rocking the boat sort of thing. I don't know if you've ever seen Kyle Berkshire hit some shots. He kind of does that. Obviously, it's the back and forth, and then he goes. But for me, it's a sequencing of actually I'm going up off the ground, and I actually just fall to the left. I go fall to the left and let everything come from the inside.
Wow. Okay, let's send you on down into impact. I have questions, obviously, Bryson.
Absolutely.
I have many questions coming into my mind as we do this. There you go. Oh, did it. Nailed it at impact.
Pretty impressive.
That was pretty good. Right?
That was impressive.
So when we see these numbers, and you're talking about amounts, they sound tiny. But for you, is this more about, is this give you a blueprint? Do you use this for a blueprint for when you're happy with your swing?
Exactly. So we look at it when I'm hitting it really good, see the numbers, save those in a data file base, and then we go when I'm hitting it bad, I have those, we average, well, don't average them out, but we take those bad swings and we essentially correlate when I'm hitting it good to when I'm hitting it bad, what numbers are deviating most, what numbers are changing the most. And these are the things that we see the most. There's a high correlation to pelvis sway. What was the other one? It was lift. There's some lift, but there's also, what was it? Sway gap. Yeah, sway gap's the other one that we look at, seeing how much difference there is between my hips and my chest. So essentially, I know this is kind of weird, but I can like do that. So that's not side bend, that's actually sway gap. That's the difference between my pelvis and my shoulders. Essentially, if you drew a straight line from the midline all the way up, that's like 2-3 inches over to the right, and you can do the same thing on the left side. So it's just getting that vertebrae to like literally shift the sideways. I'm not recommending anybody do that, but we're just measuring that to see the difference between side bend and sway gap in my golf swing. And usually when I'm hitting it really good, I've got a bit of sway gap, but it's not like forced. I'm not forcing any of these numbers. It's literally trying to be as athletic as possible. And that's the thing that confuses a lot of people, is that yes, I talk a lot. Yes, I say these big words, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to be athletic. When I get that conceptually in my head, from a theory perspective, on how we're all talking, and go, it's just fall more left.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
That's a simple thing.
That's how it gets to that, but it has to go through the macro version of how does this work holistically? How, from a theory perspective, does it all fit to make it make sense? And how does it relate to my feel? And once I get to a certain point where I can feel it, then boom, it lines up and hit it good and I'm good to go.
Your passion for the game when you play it is obvious to see. It's also there to see when you're talking about the golf swing. Dana, how much of a challenge is it keeping his curious brain from wanting to go down avenues?
It's not hard when it's organized.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Yeah. Like if we're organized, the team's organized, he's organized, he's an athlete, and he can play like that.
And I just go. And that's the funny thing about it. Sometimes my brain gets disorganized. I'm like, what is it? Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is it that? Right? And then eventually we go through the process of figuring it out. And that's really the cool part about it, the fun part about it. The process is awesome, but once you figure out what it actually is, what numbers or what feel is making me hit it good, that's where I get the greatest satisfaction out of the game of golf, for me personally. Winning's fantastic, that's in its league of its own. But for me personally, when I'm striking the ball well, there's no greater satisfaction of going, I feel this, and it does exactly what it should do.
Okay. Well, we've seen the numbers. Should we go onto the mat and hit one?
Yeah.
Should we do that? You know, obviously, we want to see you hit driver, obviously.
Okay.
But before we do, can I just get you to talk me through, because again, we're all well aware of the what we've been talking about with the irons, what you've been doing. Can you just give me an idea about what is different about these heads then than what you've done?
So, like on a driver face, there's curve, right?
Yeah.
See the curve?
Yeah.
Heels pointed left, toes pointed right. And
Yeah.
for the fans at home, they could see this. The heels pointed left and the toes pointed right. If you put just a straight line off of the toe, it'd go right, heel, go left. Center is going to be straight. So there's what we call a curvature on the face.
Yeah.
And so I took that same sort of theory and thought process, because I swing it decently fast. I applied it to the irons as well. So you can, it's fractional. You can't really see it as well, but that's because it's progressive based on the MOI of the club, based on the way how we built it and what ball speed's coming off. There's a certain curvature for that face that works for my ball speed. Now this will not work for amateurs. This is not something that I would use for lower swing speed players.
Right.
If you're an amateur and you have fast swing speed, then yes, it does work. But I'm not saying all amateurs are slow, by the way.
Yeah.
But if you look at that, you can see the toe.
You can see it, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I won with the curved face iron.
Yeah.
So that's I just think it's the craziest thing ever. But no, this is what's really cool about it, is that when I hit it on the toe, it starts farther right, and the heel starts farther left. Now, there's a reason why we have curve on the face. You hit it on the toe. What normally happens when you hit it on the toe?
Yes.
Ball flight draws,
Yeah.
right? The heel, when you hit on the heel, it starts left and cuts to the right. So for my speed, when I started gaining a lot of speed, when I hit it 10 millimeters on the toe, when I hit it on the toe, it started to overhook for me. And the heel started to overcut. And so we've created geometry on the face, a la the irons. We've created geometry on the iron faces to where when I hit on the toe and hit on the heel, they start farther off line, but they fall
Back to
on
the
my
center.
target line,
Yeah,
back to
yeah.
center. They don't overcurve.
Yeah.
And so that's why we built it, is essentially to give my miss hits to go straighter, help my miss hits go straighter. That's the biggest key.
From everything that we're looking at, from what you're explaining, from the fact that I'm holding on to this cricket bat of a grip here,
Yeah.
You must have across your entire life had people constantly going, scoffing at what you're saying, like, oh, have you heard what he's trying now?
Yeah.
How did you manage to separate yourself and stay true to your path and what your beliefs were, Bryson? Because it is one of your great strengths. It's what separated you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think a lot of that was growing up in a environment where people kept telling me, no, this isn't going to work. And I said, okay. But then when I'd go try it, I'd experience something different from what other people said was going to happen. So it was based on my own personal experience that I started to question the normal processes of golf and whatnot. And it doesn't mean that everything's wrong. I'm not saying that one bit. If anything, what technology has done for the game is unbelievable and it's fascinating. I just go to the next level of it and I try to get to the nitty gritty and really find out what works especially well for me.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of blockades over the course of my career, but as time has gone on, I've truly gotten to a place where I'm comfortable with questioning it, knowing when it doesn't work and going, okay, yeah, that's wrong, and then knowing when there's something special that we figured out. And I think that's a cool thing that I'll continue to display over the course of my career, is just trying to figure out how to make it easier for the average golfer to play better. This is something that will, down the road, the curved face stuff will help golfers all around the world, depending on their speed. And it's got to be fit to the face.
Well, if you don't mind, all those people, all those amateur golfers and myself, we'd like to come along for a ride with you on the open zone mat here. If we can. There you go.
I'll go straight to driver. I'm 30 now. I'm not 21 as I once was, but.
Dana, we're coming into your world here as well. Look, it's really easy for me to just want to talk about, like, just send it as far as you possibly can for us here, Bryson. But it feels like in recent times, there's been a case of he has this wonderful skill set that you've earned, Bryson, but you use it with responsibility, though, because that was certainly, it feels like you've got way more in the tank than you allow out generally most weeks when you're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. I try not to go after it. One, because I can't get this freaking, there we go. One, because it's not really worth it. Once you get to a certain point, distance really doesn't help as much on certain golf courses because it gets too tight and there's hazards around the green. And actually becomes more difficult to spin it. Sometimes when you get to like 40, 50 yards out, it's tough to spin it on these greens.
Yeah.
And so I've realized that you can use it in certain situations, and it's a question of, do I hit it 40 yards farther? Do I try to get 40 more yards, or do I, stay where I'm at? And I think staying where I'm at is just fine. But let me see what I got here. This platform's moving. Is that all right?
I think we'll be all right. Hopefully it'll stay up.
I move a lot though. See, I did not move. No, I didn't move. Yeah. I'm not gonna hit that. Let me find a different place.
Is that a bit more stable?
I don't. It's moving.
Yeah.
Whenever I move, it's gonna do it.
Should we get you to hit an iron off there for us as well? There's too much in the.
That's probably a good idea.
Perfect. Well, let's do that, because the last thing we want to do is damage anything.
Well, I tried to barely. I didn't even want to hit it.
What should we do? Should we play a bit?
Can I go right here? Can I go right
do
there?
it. Can we do that? Can we head down there? Come on, we'll go down on the grass. We won't get a top tracer, but at least we'll get to see it with it.
Yeah, you're the caution.
Let's get down there. All right.
Sorry about that.
Beautiful.
I literally, as I saw, I was like, "Oh, don't hit it!" I almost got to stop.
I get that. I get that. Here we go. This is better.
All right, here we go.
Wow, it's pure as the
That's
driven
nice
snow.
there.
That, yeah. What can we learn from Bryson's way that he generates this power, this inordinate power that we can apply to our game?
Yeah, so he applies a really good vertical and lowering piece. So when we were looking at that,
tell him what it means by vertical.
So vertical force is basically up and down. So when you look at a vertical, it could be going down, could be going up.
Right.
So he's producing an up, and he's producing a down, and the down's happening before he gets to the top.
Right. So sequencing's really good.
Very
Sequencing,
important.
yeah. So let me talk about that. So the times where I get in trouble is when I get up, but I stay back on the right-hand side. So there we go. So I'll get up and I'll stay too far on the right-hand side, and I won't get to the left side. I won't move my weight over, and it's like I'm falling.
Yeah.
Right. If I don't get to the left side quick enough, I'll stay on the right side and I'll start to spin. I'll start to turn.
Yeah.
And I'll literally start swinging over the top, and that's when I get the cut, the high right shot, and everything like that. But if I fall, I can then let the club come from the inside and push up and around.
And is that classic sort of loaded into the ground, so then that feel like forced up away from it? Yeah, that's what we hear all the time with you guys when you shift it, right?
Yep. So it's more of a, so I'll swing it out to the right here. Up, down and around. That's the way I feel it.
I mean, there's one thing to admire how far he's hitting that. These are all going through the same window as well.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
What's just before we let you go, Bryson, what's the time for you when you're with your driver for how you work and certain courses with the accuracy? Because when the ball's traveling that far, to actually find fairways is tough. That's a long way away from us where this is finishing.
Oh yeah, it's 330 yards, and a lot of the times it's not even imagining what's out there. It's just trying to stay in my own little bubble and repeat my motion.
Right.
I'm only trying to feel and sense what makes this thing come out of the same window and have the same draw every single time. So I'm not trying to hit a cut. I'm not trying to hit a bigger draw. I'm not trying to do anything other than make the same motion every time. If I can master or get close to mastering one swing, I'd rather just use that for the rest of my life. Make it easy. Is
there something that you would apply in links conditions, whether into the wind or maybe downwind, if you're really trying to stretch one out there? Say that 6th hole at 623 this week.
Yeah, like I'll give you a fast swing here for fun. Even 17, if there's no wind, or no, 16, the par 5, 16. I'll try to blast it over that little.
No, over it. I love it.
It's only 315. It's not that bad.
It's only 315. Okay.
Here, I'll give you the hard swing. That's pumped.
Do you not get worried the fact that it disappears from sight at sort of 300 yards? Do you not worry about where it might have gone?
Squinting, I can't see it out there.
It just disappears from sight. We'll finish one more.
Does. Here, I'll give you a good one here. So I'm going to throw. So another thing that I do is I try to hit massive draws when I'm hitting it not my best. So I'll try to swing inside out a lot more. There we go. And see how it has a bigger draw there?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to accomplish. When I'm my most comfortable, I can do that every single time.
Right.
When I get uncomfortable out there, I just go, okay, swing more inside out, and the club just flows through, turns around the corner, draws, and it's not like I'm forcing anything. I'm never forcing. I'm letting passive torque. Gosh, dang it, that's such a difficult thing to say to the public, because I don't think they're going to understand what passive torque is. But what I mean is just be athletic. Feel like the club's just naturally turning over without you manually doing anything. let the club just flow and close. That's what I mean by passive torque.
The alienation with the language perhaps absolutely doesn't reflect what you've done in a real sense with the public. We saw that at the US Open. I don't think we've ever seen anyone engage outside the ropes as much in major championship pressure as you did right there. What do you get from that though, Bryson?
Well, I feel a lot of love and support. I mean, it just allows me to be comfortable out there. When I feel like everybody's out there rooting and cheering you on, you just kind of sit back and go, this is really cool. And you get more comfortable. And what's funny is I feel like, man, if you use the crowd in a positive way and you engage with them, they're just going to love you more. And that's what I like doing because it only makes me feel good. The inspiration is one of the biggest things that I love doing, and especially as I've gotten older and matured a little bit, it's amazing to see the response from people, and those little kids light up when you sign an autograph and stuff like that. I mean, that's what it's about. I'm not going to be here forever, so might as well make a good impact.
That's not just a US thing either. They're going to love watching you perform this week. Dana, Bryson, thank you so much for all the time you've given us. Appreciate it. Thank you. Well done. Thanks, Dana. Thanks. Well done, mate. Thanks, pal. Appreciate it.